Yep, I'm still around. You can't get rid of me yet. Uh, I'm good. I'm. I'll put it like this. I'm going to make a vain effort at trying to help people try and learn how to do certain chord changes and timing their techniques with them. So, timing techniques is probably one of the hardest things to learn, no matter how good you are of doing a banjo, uke, or guitar or whatever. It's very hard to learn how to do chord shapes and timing specific techniques with those chords. The hardest part really is learning where each chord sits in the song, where each technique can sit on those chords, and then where each technique sits in their spacings, if you know what I mean, in between of a split stroke takes up so many beats, a shape takes up so many beats, a fan roll, whatever it is. It's very hard, and I have no musical knowledge in this, so I'm probably the least qualified person to talk about it. So, but the only thing I know is that it's syncopation. That's literally it. So, I'm probably the worst person to talk about this, but I'm going to give it a whack because I know there's no point in saying no when I might as well do it and see what I can put forward. So, I'm going to give it a go. Uh, hopefully, hopefully it'll go all right. But the hard part is trying to get it across without making too many mistakes. So here goes nothing. Technique timing is crucial. What you'll find when you're doing a song is you'll go through it and you'll just do mostly downstrokes, and that's all right. That's great. If you can do that, that is still a really good amount of like skill to have. It's hard enough getting the chord changes right, let alone putting in the techniques. And putting in the technique accurately is another hard part, and that's sort of what sets apart other players. And you can tell when someone's got it down because it's nearly flawless. And most notably is Andy Eastwood. I've never found a fault with any of his songs. I don't think that he's played. Although there was one where I found a little slip up with a chord change, but that was like a really tricky song. But but the techniques fitting them in is pretty damn hard to do, and I would say it's probably 90% of Formby style. The last 10% is just getting it all accurate and keeping it consistent. So they say the last 10% is the hardest part, and they're not kidding. So trying to get it working is the first bit, but the last bit is the hardest, where you want to get it working practically perfect. And I'll tell you now, you won't get it done instantly. It will take a year, maybe 2 years at a literal bare minimum. If you're the fastest learner in the world, it should take you about a year and a bit then. But if you're like me and you learn relatively quick, but you're not quite picking up on everything that easily, then yeah, I'm not sure where to put it really, because it's something that I used to love watching. Formby style, I used to look at it and think, oh wow, how is he doing that? It looks magical. It looks like he's hardly even touching them. And when you come to learn it, it's very hard. But things like spacings, for example, you don't get told, oh, you need to keep your hands at an even spacing in terms of where your finger and your thumb is. You need to make sure one clears the other. And another one like that is the fan triple, which is even harder still, because you add your index in there as well. But when you're learning it, it's all the encouragement to try and learn it all in one go and try and dash through it instantly and try and get the techniques down straight away. And I went through that route I did that route. I will admit that now. I did that. Paul Kenny is the one who told me to stop, no matter what. Just stop and keep going the really simple And if it worked for Paul Kenny, I don't think I'd ever be as accurate of a player as I am now. I'm trying to find wordings that aren't. Anyway, but yeah, the techniques themselves, if you've learnt them, you'll want to go fast, and I'm warning you now, just don't. Get the timings right. So when you're doing chord changes, timing them up is one of the hardest parts, I think, because you have to understand how long each chord's lasting. Sergeant Major is nice because the chords last relatively evenly. I'm trying to think of how to word it now, because I've just done it and I've thought it in my head and now I've lost it. Basically, it's getting each technique and figuring out how long each one lasts. When you're looking at sound waveforms of each technique, you can see exact moments where you've struck the strings on the uke, but that's like a really deep and down way of trying to understand it. I don't recommend doing it like that personally. I recommend just really slow learning of do the technique and then figure out where it will fit properly. So when I'm going through a song, trying to learn a brand new song I've never played, I've done it last week actually on Oh Fanny's Gone All Yankee. How I learnt that, I just went I just did downstrokes. So when you're learning it, just learn the chords properly. No matter what, just learn the chords, and then once you've got the techniques down, then you can start figuring it out. So go through the song, split strokes only. Figure out where they fit, and once you've done split stroke, go through the shake, go through the thumb roll, the fan triple roll, everything that you can. And once you've got it down, you'll be able to get it sounding well. But when you're trying to do that, do your split stroke one first, then you shake. And then your thumb roll. Then your fan stroke and your fan triple. And it's quite hard to know when you've learnt the song, because you'll find when you listen to a player do any song, you'll find the solos are never exactly the same, no matter what. If you do a slight slip of how far forward or backward your hand is whilst you're playing, or sometimes you might catch your fingernail or something, or sometimes you'll slip up on a chord, or you'll sneeze the wrong way or something like that, and it just throws everything out ever so slightly. So you just pick it up with a different chord or a different fan stroke, and you'll find that no matter what, us formy style players, we will always try and find a new way to mess up a song. No matter what, we will try and find a way to mess it up. But then learning how to correct it again is the hard part. once you've done a chord slip, how do you fix it? How do you put it back into the song again? And I think the thing to that is knowing the song you're playing really well, like I mean the back of your hand well, like really well. You need to learn it properly. And I've got two songs that I mix and match all the time, and you're not going to believe it, but I mix up my crap. I mix up my Auntie Maggie's Remedy. Sorry, that took me so long. Auntie Maggie's Remedy I mix up with what's the other one? It's one of the ones where it has that weird chord change. Happy Go Lucky Me. Oh no, it's Auntie Maggie's Remedy and Get Your Photo in the Press. Those two that I mix up, and every time I mix them up, I can never fix it unless I do a specific chord change afterwards, which is, instead of doing that one, I just replace it with that G7. So instead of the E7, it's G7. Sometimes you can just chuck it out and then chuck it back in again. So it's a really big case of knowing what the hell's happening next. No matter what, you will always mess up, but also, no matter what, you'll always get it right at the very end. You'll always be able to do it, no matter what. If you try long enough and hard enough, you will eventually get there. And it took me long enough to realise that. And I nearly quit playing the uke twice whilst trying to learn the Formby style because it was just so gosh darn difficult. So, and I'm glad I stuck with it. I've been able to play uke. I've been able to meet some incredible people at the society, and being able to play the uke really is just half of it. Once you've learnt to play the uke, you will be ridiculed if you never go up on stage. You have to be able to go up on the stage, play a song, and be good with it. And here's the next part of what I want to talk about. Being on the stage, you usually 9 times out of 10 get a backing track or the band playing with you, so you have to be able to stay in time, which is another hard part. And trying to stay in time is not that difficult really, but it is difficult when you're trying to get these techniques in. And I've already said that you can replace certain techniques, but what I didn't say is that you can lengthen or shorten chords accordingly to how you need something. No pun intended there. Chords accordingly. You can change them up, you can. There's a couple of chords where I tend to leave them a little bit longer, like Fanny's Gone All Yankee. You know the little F shape to that weird chord there? Listen to this one. That was a longer F and a shorter whatever chord that was. So it's two beats each, 2 downstrokes each. 3 on that first one, 1, and straight on. You can tell the difference it makes, and it helps when you're doing certain chord shapes. And you can tell on each one I left an upstroke just before I changed. So doing that shorter chord there and that longer F at first allows you, so just a, so of the fan down, you can do a fan down and a split stroke. Like that. So learning how to mix up chords, mix up timings, and then place the timings correctly goes a long way to keeping in time with a band, because sometimes they'll want to change a chord a little bit sooner than you thought. And I've had it before where sometimes they go from the verse to the chorus where they're about to do it, and I've heard it on a couple of people on YouTube where they're about to change and they realise the person didn't want to actually change to a chorus yet, so they go back to another verse. But the trick with that is, if the band are leading you, then you want to try and figure out a chord where it would allow you to swing either straight to the verse or straight to the chorus. Sometimes, well, what I do with backing tracks when I'm doing it, what I would do is, if there's like I'd replace that chord with that chord, or on some songs where that would be in, I'd replace it with that. Like, what was that one? Ooh, it's going to bug me now. On City on the Top of Blackpool Tower, I know George did a funky chord on it, which was sometimes he does that chord replacement there, just so that, you know, if he accidentally does the wrong chord, he can switch around to a different chord, or switch around to the chord that he knew was going to be next, or one that he didn't know. So it's a case of figuring out where you can squeeze little chords to equalise each problem that you may come across. It's a case of, it's like a risk assessment. You figure out what's the chance of me messing up and going into this part or this part or this part or some part that doesn't exist yet until I've made it. You have to figure out what chord you can do and how you can recorrect, shall I say. But that being said, it's not really a case of correcting as much as it is trying to not mess it up too much. But when you're trying to do it fast paced as well, that throws another curveball in there for you. And you have to be very fast on your feet if you want to be able to get it sounding right. I don't know any player who's never done a mistake whilst trying to do a different chord shape than they normally would do, or trying to do a different technique shape than they would normally do. Well, I say shape, I mean timing. I've never known anyone to not make a mistake whilst trying to do it. So it's really, really tricky. And I think one of the ones that I could show you was the Sheik of Araby. That one had a really unusual chord shape, and I always messed it up at first, and I always kept trying to do a fan stroke somewhere. So as you can see, I always mess up that song regardless, but that second fan stroke that I added in there, that second one there that I added in was completely and utterly terrible. So it's a case of timing it, getting it right, and then dropping it in where you think it will work, and where once you've learnt it, then you can go and perform it. And the hard part after you've done all that is being able to then say, right, I don't want to do the same solo, I'm going to try and do a different solo this time, slightly different, slightly changed up. So that's where it comes in, of learning the split stroke and your shake really well, because those two can almost always be mixed. Doesn't matter where you do them, as long as I think what I learned was 2 split strokes and then a shake, or split stroke, split stroke, or shake, split stroke, or any of them orders that you can think of. So that's one way of learning them. And then your fan roll will replace your split stroke, your thumb roll, your fan triple will replace your shake, and then your thumb roll is to, I don't know what I learnt with that one. I think that one was to equalise any chord struggles, I think it was. Sometimes you could get problems where you're changing chords, and instead of doing that, you can just add in a thumb roll, and that will just alleviate those certain chord struggles, because that will just give you a bass to go through. It would give you like a bass timing for it, because it would be one chord, one chord, one chord. So that's how I did Lamppost actually at the start. It's very hard to learn, and I know this is a very, very, very long-winded video. So take it with a grain of salt. Just don't take me word for word, just take me for what I'm trying to give you. So I don't know if this video is even any use to you. I don't even know if there's any point in me uploaded it, but hopefully, theoretically, it should help. But as I say, timing each chord with a technique of its own does help. Just doing one technique per chord sometimes helps. So you see there, I did F shape was just fan strokes. Next one was the fan triples. That was shakes and split strokes. So just go for it. Just try and figure out stuff like that if you want to. Just doing one technique per chord. Or you could try doing 2 techniques per chord and just change them, mix and match them. It's hard. Just go for it, try it. No matter what, you can never go wrong, because you're always learning. I'm always learning. Everyone is always learning. You'll never know everything. No matter what, no matter how long you try and learn the instrument. Good luck.